Welcome back to another episode of Math with Dr. Math. Alright, so today we're going to talk about factoring trinomials. Okay, so the first type of polynomial that we're going to look at here is going to be a quadratic. Alright, so we're going to look at quadratic polynomials. And all this means is that we're going to have a polynomial with degree 2. Alright, so those are going to be the quadratics that we're going to be looking at. And what we're going to look for is we're going to first see if these quadratics are in standard form. And we throw around that phrase, right, or that term there, standard. So we're looking at standard form. We want to make sure that our x squared term is first, and then our x term is next, and then our constant is last. Alright, so everything's in descending order there. Alright, so if we recall, alright, so if we go back a few days, what we're going to notice is what we did is we went ahead and we multiplied this. We got x times x squared, x times 6, 6x, 5 times x, 5x, and then 5 times 6 is 30. And then we went ahead and we combined our like terms here, and we got x squared plus 11x plus 30. Alright, so this is what we did. We multiplied. That's the world we just came from. Okay, we came from the world of multiplication. But now where we're headed is we're going to start with that end product, right? We're going to start here, and we want to see where did this come from. So we want to see where did that come from. And again, just a reminder, that process right there is called factoring, that reverse process of multiplication. Okay, so in general, okay, we're going to get this quadratic like we see here. And notice in this particular case we have a constant, our leading coefficient here of 1. So whenever you have a 1 here, notice you're going to get x times x. And in this particular case, because everything's positive, right, we're going to get plus some number and then x plus another number. It could be the same number, but most likely it'll be different. Alright, so this is what we're going to be looking at. And of course, we say that if no such numbers exist, then we say this polynomial is, the word we threw around last class was prime. So we say it is prime time. Alright, so again, that doesn't mean that if you can't factor, you write prime. When it's not possible to factor, though, we say it's prime. So when it can't be broken up. Alright, so this is where we're headed today. So let's take a dive and let's look at what we're going to be doing. Alright, so if you go ahead and flip that page, let's look at example 1. And they want us to factor. Say we got this quadratic here, right? We got that square term. And we want to factor. And notice for each one of these examples, our leading coefficient is 1. Alright, so let's take a look at what we're going to do here. Again, there's about 1,000 different ways I've seen, but we'll just take a look at one. Alright, so just so I'm consistent here, I'm going to use this X box method. And again, I'll walk you through this method. Alright, so I put my X. Alright, I'll put my X right here. And what's going to happen is I'm going to take my leading coefficient, and if you recall, it's an invisible 1. So I'm going to take that 1 and I'm going to multiply it by 12. Alright, that product I'm going to put up here. So 1 times 12, bam. That gives me 12. Alright, then I'm going to take that middle term, which is negative 8, and I'm going to put that down here. Alright, so I put that negative 8 down there. And what I'm looking for, folks, alright, so pay close attention here. Don't let this one get by you. I'm looking for two numbers, right? So I'm looking for these two magical numbers that's going to make your face smile. Alright, we want to find those two numbers right there that when you multiply them, they give you 12. And when you add those same two numbers, they're going to give you negative 8. So what are two numbers that multiply to give you 12? Right? They're going to give you that 12, and they're going to add up to negative 8. Excellent. So if you heard the person in the back, all right, what she said is negative 6 times negative 2. All right, perfect. So if I recall, we said that these factors are going to look as um, as follows. So we get the x times the x, because we know the x times the x is going to give us the x squared term. Notice this first piece is negative 2, so this is going to be minus 2. And the second term is the second factor is negative 6, so the negative 6 goes right there. And there you have it. You have just found those mother factors. All right. And again, if you ever wanted to check this to see if it works, here's a fast way, the fastest way on earth to check it. You multiply the middle 2, you get negative 2x. You multiply the outer 2, you get negative 6x. When you combine them, bam, negative 8x. And that's exactly what we have here in the middle. All right. So again, that's just a fast way of checking and confirming that yes, this is indeed our factor. Our factors, excuse me. All right, number 2. Let's go ahead and use the same method. Let's take a look at number 2 here. All right, we'll start with the x. So what? Don't forget your invisible 1. All right, that's going to come into play pretty soon. All right, so what we do is we'll multiply 1 times the negative 24. That number goes on top. What number is going on the bottom? Perfect. Good, good. The 5. So now we're looking for those two magical numbers. They're going to multiply to give you negative 24, and the same two numbers are going to add up to give you 5. If you heard the gentleman in front, so he said positive 8. Notice I said positive 8, and he said negative 3. All right, because when you multiply those, they give me negative 24. When they add them, they give you positive 5. So now let's go ahead and we're going to get, again, x times x, because that's going to give us x squared. And I have a positive 8, and I have a negative 3. So these two factors, right, that's what's going to go right there. Perfect. Good, good, good. Any questions before we continue? Fantastic. Good. So let's continue the march. I could check my work real fast. Boom. Multiply those two, I get 8x. Multiply those two, negative 3x. And when I add them, they better give me this positive 5x up there. So do they? Checkmate. Bam. There's my factors. Here's Johnny. All right. Good, good. We're on fire. Number 3. Let's check it out. Okay. Ooh, I see the sweat coming down. Because people are like, oh no, what do I do? I got a Y. What do I got to do now? All right. Don't panic. Nothing different about this. All right. Nothing's changing. So let's look at what we do here. Let's start it off. So I got my invisible 1. So I do 1 times 24, right? It's always the first coefficient and the last coefficient. So we got that 24 right there. The number in the middle, right? That coefficient, excuse me, goes on the bottom. Okay. Oops, don't erase that. Don't erase that. Come back. All right, two numbers. They multiply, give you 24, add up to 14. So those two magical numbers are what? Perfect. 12 and 2. Man, we are on fire today. So let's go ahead and throw in our parentheses. So we got x times x, because we're going to get x squared. And then we're going to get plus 12 and then plus 2. So the big question is like, wait a minute, how do I get the y squared? So what times what? Let me get my highlighter in here. What times what's going to give me that y squared? Exactly. Who said that? Perfect. Thank you. So we get y, and y. And notice what happens when you check it. You get 12y times x. Well, that's 12xy. And when you get x times 2y, that's 2xy. So 12xy plus 2xy, beautiful. Bam, that middle term right there. All right, everything checks out nicely. So we have factored. All right, now you're ready to tackle life. I've shown you everything I know in life. Oh, just kidding. Let's go part B. All right, part B. Factor completely. Well, what this means is exactly what it says. We need to make sure that you look for the GCF first. All right. So first, you always want to look for the GCF. If not, you're working way too hard. All right. So what we want to do is we want to look at each one of these terms. All right, and say, well, what are these terms? And they have to be all of them. What do they have in common, if anything? So look at them. What do they have in common? Good. They each have a common cousin. I'm just kidding. All right, you could factor out a 2x from each of them. All right, bless you if you heard that person sneeze in the background. All right, so they each have a 2x in common. So I'm going to factor that out. All right, so if I factor out a 2x from the first term, what am I left with? Good. 2x squared. The next term, the 28x squared, what if I pull out 2x from there? What are you left with? Good. Plus 14x. Last but not least, you got the negative 64x. I pull out 2x, what are you left with? Nice. Negative 32. Notice it had an x, but then you factored out that x, so there's no more x's left. Wouldn't that be a nice world with no more x's? Anyways. Okay. So, someone's raising their hand in the back. Question. Ah, you caught me. Good. So they're like, wait, Mr. Perez. You made a big ass mistake. This 2 should not be here. Good. You factored out the 2. So get that 2 the heck out of there. Perfect. My editing guy's on vacation, so I'll just do this myself. Alright. Bam. So that should be x squared. Alright. Way to be heads up. Okay. So now we take care of business. Let's business as usual. So we got the 2x. Whatever's on the outside, you're just going to drop it like it's hot. Bam. And then we set up our game. Right? We set this up. So nothing changes here. So you take that invisible 1, you multiply it by this negative 32. So you get that top term, negative 32. Where does this 14 go? Good. Right there, right in the bottom. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply to give you negative 32. They add up to 14. All right, so go ahead, take off your shoes, start counting some toes, and we're going to see that our answer is what? 16 and negative 2. Nice. All right, 16 times negative 2 gives me negative 32, but when I add those two numbers, they give me that positive 14. So you could see probably the thing that's going to be hardest about all these factors, about this process of factoring, maybe just finding these two factors. So what I suggest you do, all right, people often just stare at the sky, right? You just see people looking around like the factors are just going to fall from the sky and they wait forever, right? They just wait forever. But no, so you actually got to get a list, right? If you see the factor is, that number is negative 32, what I want to see people actually doing is do 1 times 32. Nah, that doesn't work. 2 times 16. Alright, so start listing all those possibilities, right? 3 doesn't work. 4 times 8, right? So you just keep going and you're like, then you have your little checklist. No, this guy didn't work. This guy didn't work. Oh, we have a winner. And then you just figure out where the signs belong, right? So again, I want you to actually write out those factors. Test some things out. You're not always going to get it on the first try. All right, so we got the x, we got the x, we got the plus 16, we got the minus 2, and now you are finished, my friends. All right, so that's how we're going to factor these first few quadratics. Alright, so if you'll flip the page for me, let's take a look here. Alright, so if you scroll down to the bottom of that new page, today's going to be I'm going to give you a bonus. Bonus time. Bonus. Just because you're viewing this video tonight, I'm giving you a bonus. Alright, I'm going to say, you know what, Johnny, let's cut to the chase. Let's give these people what they came for. Alright, so this is a new method, hot off the press. Okay, it just got invented like 2 seconds ago, or 20 years ago, whatever. So let's look at this method. Normally, I would teach you factor using the trial and error, but tonight there will be no errors. You heard it here. All right. So let's do this. Let's show them what we're talking about, Johnny, because these folks are excited. All right. We're going to call this the new AC method. Watch this. Don't blink. Do not blink. Here we go. So you multiply that first term and the first term. Well, wait a minute, Johnny. You just told us earlier that you have to factor out the GCF. Okay, so let me rewind. That person has a valid question. Look at these three terms. Do you see a GCF? Absolutely not. So once there's no GCF, then you could proceed. Okay, so that's why I went ahead and I took off, because there is no GCF. All right, so first you check for GCF. Then you take the first term, last term. Bam, you get this 14. All right, what number's going in down here? What number's going down here? Good, 15. So I need two numbers that multiply to give me, let me change my colors here. They multiply to give me, oh, the 14, and they add up to 15. So our two magic numbers, here we have it, 14 times 1. All right, so we go ahead, we set up business as usual. We're going to set up shop. All right, we have our x times our x, and then we have our two mother factors right here. So we got plus 14 and plus 1. This is where everything changes. Do not blink. All right, what is my leading coefficient here? What is my leading coefficient? Well, if you look, let me circle it for you. It's 2. All right. Before, we never had to worry about this because we always had a what as our leading coefficient? Perfect. We had a 1. But now we have a 2. That changes everything. So again, pay close attention. So we take this 2, and what we're going to do, maybe I should color code this better. All right, let me use a different color. Let me circle it in blue. So whatever that leading coefficient is, we're going to divide it by this into this factor, and we're going to divide that 2 into here. And then you simplify if possible. Simplify if possible. So this piece right here, this is going to simplify quite nicely, right? That's just going to turn into what? Oh, don't tell me I have to take off every single one of these dots. All right, so that's going to simplify to x plus 7. Nice. Wait a minute. This 1/2 over here, is this going to simplify? Is this piece right here going to simplify? No. So when it does not simplify, look what's going to happen to this 2. This 2 is about to travel. Whatever this denominator is, always goes in front of your variable. So look what happens. All right, we have, it's no longer x, but what's going in front of the x? Good. That 2. That 2 is going to move right there. So it becomes 2x, and that 1 stays put, plus 1. All right, and this is called the new AC method. The new AC method. All right. At first, it might seem confusing, but don't worry. I'm going to do another example. We're going to look at this. How do I know if it's true? Let's go ahead. Let's multiply it out. 7 times 2, we get 14x. X times 1, we get x. 14x plus 1x is 15x. We get that middle term. We are all set, ladies and gentlemen. You have just witnessed the new AC method. I know, mind-blowing. Let's do another one. All right, don't panic. We're going to do another one. All right, number 2 here. If you flip that page, number 2. So let's look at this. First thing you always look for is what? Good. The GCF. Do you see any GCF here? No, there's no number that goes into all of them. So let's go ahead. Let's draw our little X. All right, so we know 3 times negative 16. So we multiply those two. We get the negative 48. Bam, goes right there. The number in the bottom, we always know, is that middle term. All right, so here we get 22. All right, so now let's take some time and let's find the two factors here. Again, just to show you how I want you to do this. I want you to take that 48 and I want you to just go ahead and break it up. So I know 1 times 48, right? I know there's 2 times 24, right? And we just go on and on and on. We got 3 times 16. And what I'm going to want you to do again, we're going to get 4 and 22, right? So you're going to break it up into all the possibilities. And what you're going to notice is you want to see, okay, is there any pair here that when you add them or subtract them is going to give you a 22? And we'll worry about the signs later, okay? So for example, 1 in 48, any possibility that could give you a positive 22 by throwing some signs in there? Absolutely not. So we cross that one out. That one can't work. 2 and 24. So this 2 and 24. Any possibilities of you getting a positive 22? Well, yeah. I'll get positive 22 if I make this to what? A negative. So let's check this out. Negative 2 times 24. Does that give you negative 48? Well, yeah. It gives you this negative 48 when you multiply. How about when I add negative 2 and 24? Does that give you 22? Perfect. Those are your two mother factors. So you get negative 2 and 24. All right. So again, please make sure you create some type of list. All right. Visually, it helps you because again, too many times people try to do this in their head. Of course, there's people that can, but it's safer just to write them down. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead. Next step. So now that we found our factors, we have y, because we're dealing with the variable y, we got y minus 2, and then we have y plus 24. But wait, now in this case, what are we dividing the 2 and the 24 by? Good, our leading coefficient over here, don't forget. So you're going to divide it by the leading coefficient, which is 3. Divided by 3. Divided by 3. So again, make sure in your notes, right? These aren't notes. It's just examples, me showing you. In your notes, you're writing down this in words, right? What you're doing. Make sure it makes sense to you. Don't worry about what I have. Make sure what you have makes sense to you. All right? So now we reduce, we simplify, if possible. Simplify. All right, let's look at the 2/3. Is the 2/3 going to simplify? Is this guy, can you break it down? No. So let's recall what we did earlier. The y stays put, the minus 2 stays put. Where's that 3 going? Where's that 3 going? Good. It always moves to the front. So someone's probably going to ask, does that always happen if it doesn't reduce? Yes, even on Sunday, right? Bam. That 3 goes right there. All right, let's look at this next guy. Can you reduce this? 24 divided by 3? Absolutely. So you get y plus 8. We're done, ladies and gentlemen. All right. And what you're going to see is you're going to get faster and faster and faster at this the more you practice. All right, let's do a few more. I know you're excited with this new method. I know you want to try a bunch on your own. Just hold your horses. All right. Let's see a few more examples first. All right, so let's get our x ready. All right, GCF. Do I have a GCF? I do not. So we're going to multiply 5 times 3. We got that 15. We take that middle term, that negative 16, we put it down here. So two numbers that multiply to give me 15 add up to negative 16, negative 15, and negative 1. Again, this is going to be the part that's going to take some time. Alright, I have many years of practice, so that's why I could fly by this. Some of us, right, it's going to take us quite a bit of time. The more you do that homework, right, the more practice you get, you're going to start to see these numbers come at you. Some of you are going to be dreaming all night of these numbers. Some of you already had nightmares of these numbers, right? They're not going to stop coming. Good. So we get x times x. All right, I put my numbers right there. Minus 15, minus 1. All right, in this case, I'm dividing them both by what number? Perfect. This 5. So divide this by 5, divide this by 5. Here 5, there 5, everywhere a 5, 5. All right, I took that too far. All right, I apologize. So we got parentheses here. All right, and then we simplify. We simplify like it's 1999, and we get x minus 3. What happens to this 5? Right here, what happens to this 5? Perfect. Goes right in front. So you get 5x minus 1. Perfect. You are done. Right? You guys aren't playing around now. You got it. All right, number 4. It's all you. Give it a try. All right. Take 2 of these. Call me in the morning. Peace.